Playing Around Wisconsin, where we offer you a unique look at every public golf course that we have in the Badger State. Enjoy the scenes, the friends, and the swings as we embark on a journey to play around Wisconsin. This is Playing Around Wisconsin. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Playing Around Wisconsin. I'm here at the Coulee Golf Bowl, Onalaska, Wisconsin. One of my favorite places to come out and play back when I was in college and grad school. It's about 3,100 yards from the tips, a little bit less than that, from tee to green. A really unique 9-hole course just east of Highway 53. Again, in Onalaska, Wisconsin, and you're up in the Coulee region. Again, Coulee Golf Bowl. Going to be a fun round of golf here on another beautiful fall day in Wisconsin. Let's rock and roll. Hole number 1 at Coulee Golf Bowl. A 360-yard par 4. Little uphill second shot to a small green. Some trouble on the right, but a good hole to blast away and be aggressive to begin. Not a very strong wedge from about 80 yards in. Feel a lot more confident in my driver since the last time I played and shared anything with you guys from Neilsville Country Club. But as I mentioned before, we got some smaller greens out here at Coulee Golf Bowl. Looking closely, you can see they've been punched pretty recently, but they're coming back all right. So, a little too much work left than I would prefer, but birdie putts are birdie looks, and can't complain about those. So. One hole down, 8 to go, and our first par 5 of the day. If there's anything that I would consider to be a signature hole out here, it's definitely this one. 505 yards from the back tees, all the way up a slope about 40 yards up the hill. Not an easy shot. Course boundary on the left, you can see the telephone wires, but an absolutely beautiful golf hole, especially here in the fall, and a tough one. So if I'm talking on the camera on this hole and I'm a little bit winded, it's because I'm A, out of shape, and B, it's a lot of walking up the hill. But one par in, let's see what we can do here. All right, on to shot number 2. Not sure if you could follow the trail on the tee shot, but thankfully drew one to the left side. If you're going to play this hole and you're fortunate enough to be able to control your tee shots, I think I got, again, a little lucky there. Left side is probably going to be the best side to have a flat second shot. So about 230 yards coming in, about 20 yards up the slope from where I'm standing right now. So gonna play at about 250. Should be a good 3-wood swing from here. Right club, pin high, just tugged it to the left. Again, kind of beating a dead horse already, but small greens out here, and tough ones too. So, as we approach the green, you can see it's dropping off on the front. Definitely a plateau you have to hit up to on your second or third shot. If I'm coaching, I'm going to be strongly suggesting to my players, no shame in a 3-shot hole here for a par 5, but going for it reaps the rewards and sometimes can be your downfall. But let's see if we can get up and down. Oh man. Moving on from the toughest hole on the golf course, we go retrace our steps right back down the hill to a tiny little green about 20 yards down the slope, 155 yards from the back. Our tee boxes are pretty bunched here today, but playing about 130 yards to a tiny target and a beautiful vista. You can see in the distance the bluffs. Gosh, love this area. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. If you have the opportunity to come play it, I strongly suggest you do it in the mid-fall where the trees are starting to change colors. But onward and upward, let's break the pars. Probably the biggest bugaboo of my game all year. It's been 130 yards with a pitching wedge. Everything's high, right, a little weak, but good opportunity to practice the chip in here. On to hole number 4, short par 4, about 285 yards long from tee to green. A little difficult to see the green from the tee box, but pretty sharp dogleg left. There's a bunker estimated about 230, I would say, if memory serves me correctly. That serves as a perfect aiming point. So anything shorter than that's going to leave you a pretty simple wedge shot into the green. But one of my favorite holes out on this golf course at Coulee Golf Bowl. Coming up on my second shot here, you can see the sand trap that I refer to as the target line or aiming point. It's actually about 240, 250 yards from the tee. So I chose hybrid, something I hit about less than that, and turned out in really good shape. So about 46 yards out for my next shot coming in. Another example of a super small green. And as we look around, we can see the hazard. Things are really stacked up on top of each other in here, but while some folks would complain and have some serious issues with it and worries about it, but I love how they have made the most of the space out here at Coulee Golf Bowl, where you got your good mix of simple but also challenging elements of a golf course. But I really enjoy my time out here. The price point's great. And again, lovely, lovely day here in the Coulee region. not upset with pars, but got to do a little bit better from about 45 degrees. On that last hole, there's a little drop off where my ball just rolled off the green, but again, up and down for 4, not a terrible thing. On to the second and final par 3 of the day. Kind of a visually deceptive hole. We'll plays true to about that 172-yard number from the back. You can see the pro shop, the bowling alley, the bar and grill, and the parking lot behind the green, the practice green, and so on. So pretty simple and straightforward par 3, but just understand the visuals might play a little bit of tricks with you. Trust the number that you get and stay committed. On to the 6th hole. This one retraces the steps we just took on the 4th and the 5th hole with a dog leg left on the par 4 and then the straightaway par 3, the last hole. But then the next hole also plays pretty much parallel or even with the 6th hole on the right side of the fairway here. So there's internal out of bounds. So if you're not familiar or haven't ever played out here, on the right side, again, is internal out of bounds. So it depends on your target line of how aggressive you want to be at the turn. But if you can hit the ball about 290, 300 yards, it should go right to those trees way beyond the fairway here. So right in the center of the screen here is the target line if you've never played here before, or just to the left of it. Otherwise here we have the gold tees way up there. Try to use in between those as your target line if you're using driver. Another good example out here of just the rolling fairways and the undulations, the elevation change is pretty commonplace out here in the La Crosse area if you're not familiar. But hit the tee shot pretty well, a little bit more towards the toe than I'd like, but zero complaints whatsoever. Looking at about 225 yards up the hill into another small green. Protected on the left. I would say all 3 of these par 5s out here, especially the size of the greens. Intelligent play for the most part would be 3 shots, you know, two putts to go in for par, give yourself a simple look at a birdie, but depends on how aggressive you want to be and all that good stuff. But again, that background, absolutely beautiful. Not quite getting there with the leaves changing. I can't believe that, even if we're in October, but no complaints thus far. I did get, however, played through by this gentleman on the green who didn't really discuss much with me, but he slowed down the pace just a little bit, playing by himself with the cart, running right into more groups in front of him. Must have a hot date this afternoon, but I highly doubt that. All right, I'm a nice person, and let's try to finish this hole strong. On to the 7th hole. Happy with the round so far, except for the fact that my wedges are letting me down just a little bit. Helps if I practice a little bit more, but yeah, 7th hole. Again, like I mentioned before, we have internal out of bounds on the right side, the par 5, 6th running even with this hole. Something I want to make mention of out here is just how well they maintain some of the barriers and the boundaries. We can see the retaining wall here on the backside. A lot of little things go a long way in making a golf course feel welcome and nice and just well taken care of. And I didn't play out here for about 10-12 years between grad school and then moving back up here about a year, 14-15 months ago. And coming back up here, I was really happy with what this golf course has maintained and retained to be. Special unique touch, we got the bowling pin tee boxes. Not sure if we made mention of that earlier, but Again, you know you're playing the Coulee golf ball when you got bowling pins as your tee markers. So making my way up to my tee shot. You could see and hear I hit that thing pretty fat. Not like 1998 fat, LL Cool J fat, PHAT, FAT. A little course knowledge is helpful though. Took a strong enough line where I have a pretty simple-ish enough wedge shot from the rough coming in, ball sitting up nice. One thing that's really worth mentioning on this hole, number 7, is the left to right slope on this green, which is extremely severe, hard to really see this from this camera angle, and then the back to front too. So somehow, some way, if you can keep the ball below the hole, really well placed trap on the right makes that a little bit tougher, easier said than done. But yeah, this is a good par 4 on a tight little golf course, and again, thankfully a little course knowledge kept me safe after hitting that poor tee shot. Making it up to the 8th hole, we have ourselves a deceptively more challenging par 4 than what may look like to the eye. It's about 341 yards from the back tees, but straight away gets a little tight, little narrow, but that green on that plateau, on that shelf, is what really makes this hole a little bit more of a bear than one might realize. Making our way to the 9th hole. Long par 4, well, long-ish, down the hill. There's a split in the fairway, which makes your tee shot a little bit more complicated than one might think. But I said on the 2nd hole that I believe that might be the signature hole out here. If that isn't, this one definitely is. Facing west, we can see again the vistas in the distance. Major benefit of playing golf in the Coulee region. No shortage of beautiful views, especially if you're playing this hole in the late afternoon, early evening. But it's a fun hole to just try to blast away, get it over the ledge, and give yourself something a little bit simpler to come into that small green, as you can see over the top of that hill. So on our way in here on the 9th hole, a little disappointing tee shots on the last 2 holes, a little squirrely, a little lazy, leaking out to the right with that 3-wood on 8. Saw that punt shot, very lucky, get it through that tight and tiny little window there. Might have a similar issue down here as I approach my 2nd shot here on the final hole of the day. But we shall see. We shall see. Another small green to finish, protected with some pine trees behind the hole, a little amphitheater almost kind of finish here at Coulee Golf Bowl. But some final thoughts here as we finish up this round. Again, as I mentioned before, undergrad and grad school at UW La Crosse. So nice I had to go twice. Played out here a lot back in those days, not nearly as much since I moved back out here, but coming back up has been a pleasant surprise every time I've been out here. The course is usually pretty in good shape, considering they get a ton of public play and local play, a lot of youth play too. They take care of the kids out here well, And they have a nice combination with the bar and grill and the restaurant, and of course the bowling alley inside in the winter time. They opened up early this year, and I'm assuming they're going to stay open late here again this fall as the weather continues to be phenomenal this year. But I paid $12 today just to walk 9 holes, and you know, on October 7th or 8th, nothing wrong with that. Little longer video facing myself and me talking to the screen here, but I wanted to take the time to mention too, that gentleman that played through before a few holes ago came up and apologized pretty quickly. He didn't realize that he was driving into a log jam himself. So I appreciate the manners, but if you're not an experienced golfer, or if you don't have a ton of, I don't know, I suppose, well, experience playing through other people in front of you, make sure you have a thorough conversation before you blaze right through. So kudos to him for coming back and owning the mistake. And, you know, who knows, he might even have that hot date this afternoon. All I can say is I certainly don't. So not a terribly upsetting result from a little over 150, 160 yards blind, ball below my feet. Nothing terribly simple to get up and down and in to finish here, but I want to thank you all for joining me for another edition of Playing Around Wisconsin here at Coulee Golf Bowl in Onalaska, Wisconsin. Absolutely worth your time, your effort, your energy, so on and so forth. Love this golf course, always have, hopefully always will. Now, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a friendly comment, and we'll see you next time on Playing Around Wisconsin.